University here in Columbia, well, has been buzzing loudly all weekend.
Passion of the crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium is second to none.
And the rave breaks out in Columbia.
It is good!
Gamecock fans, welcome home.
See how it goes, but we'll be ready to go.
It's time to root.
Touchdown, Carolina! It's gone! Touchdown! What a hit! He baked it in! Can you believe it? Gamecocks have won this game!
Here are your hosts, J.C. Sherbert.
Oh, watch him celebrate now!
Phil Molinex.
My wife doesn't like hanging around losers.
And Jamie Bradford.
I'm going to tell you look like you joined Duck Dynasty.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard and welcome home inside the Gamecocks, the show live from the Signorama Studios, the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics, Signorama.com. They are located in West Columbia, South Carolina, and owned by Gamecock alumni Matt Vaughn. We are, of course, built by the Barn Dominium Co., the Barndo Co. You see the logo. If you're watching, you see the logo on the screen. If you're listening, the barndominiumco.com is where you can find your dream home for as low as $160 per square foot. Doesn't sound true, but it is. If you live in the Carolinas, in the volunteer state of Tennessee, and we'll get to some news out of that in just a second, it's breaking, or the Peach State of Georgia, you can head to the barndominiumco.com. We are only a couple of days away from SEC Media Days. They will commence on Monday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, and it will be a full house on our program next week as we cover that with guests from Nashville. Mike Morgan will join us twice next week, as a matter of fact. Brad Crawford and many of the other local writers around the league covering their respective programs, as we, of course, will have plenty to cover on the Gamecocks. 50 days until kickoff, September the 2nd. In Charlotte, and some of the predictions are beginning to come out, much like we've already done around here, and predicting that College Game Day will more than likely settle itself outside somewhere of Bank of America Stadium on that Saturday, as South Carolina and North Carolina looks like it will be the premier matchup in the sport of college football Saturday evening on ABC. JC, Phil, and myself, JB, here until 1 o'clock. In addition to all of that, we'll go over 13 questions, burning questions of SEC Media Days. We'll see if any we know a lot of these will be answered next week because there'll be media predictions, certainly, but some of our own fun questions that we'll toy around with, and we'll love to get your response as well out of the Nano Sports chat box. And then next week, we'll be able to recap all of it and see how close we all were. I did send them this morning to both of these fine gentlemen, the bald one, Mad Dog Molinex, and the one with tons of hair, J.C. Schubert, and so I've already given away my answers. I don't know what theirs are, so we'll have some fun with that here in just a little bit. The breaking news, though, guys, before I kind of get you in here, is that Tennessee, and the headline seemingly by every outlet that is covering this thus far, is that the Vols will not be issued a bowl ban. The Vols will not be issued a bowl ban. The Vols will not be issued a bowl ban. Okay, so what are they getting? Apparently, according to the NCAA, under Jeremy Pruitt's watch, they committed over 200 infractions, including 18 level 1 violations. They have been slapped with a $8 million fine that is due to the NCAA. That is the financial impact that the school would have faced if it had missed the postseason during the 23 and 24 seasons. They also prescribed the legislated fine of $5,000. However, that is plus the 3% of the football program's budget and a fine to address the ineligible competition in the 2020 Tax Slayer Gator Bowl game. Here is the rest. I'm not going to read it all word for word because it is a lot, and I don't want this show to just be all of mine. They will be on probation for 5 years. There will be a reduction in football scholarships by a total of 28 during the term of probation, including at least 2 scholarships each year. So they can't just do like none this year and all 28 next year. They've got to have a minimum of 2 every single year during the 5 years of probation. Tennessee previously self-imposed and credited with 16 scholarship reductions from the 21-22 and 22-23 academic years, a reduction in football official visits by a total of 36 during the term of probation. That includes a reduction of at least 4 per year as well. Tennessee shall prohibit official visits in connection with a total of 10 regular season home games, 4 of which must be against SEC opponents. There are some other self-imposed things that have already happened as well. What really sticks out with this is the $8 million fine, and it looks like the NCAA is going more, JC, Phil, y'all correct me if I'm wrong here. In the past, we've seen players and coaches who had nothing to do with previous staffs or previous rosters who screwed up. They would be the ones who'd be penalized later for the mistakes made prior to them being on campus. It looks like the NCAA is beginning to take a little bit more of a turn towards stiffer financial penalties to not punish people who don't deserve to be punished. So with that said, welcome, gentlemen. Want to make sure we got that news in here at the top of the program.
Yeah, good morning. I love that. You're going to vacate, 16 of Pruitt's wins, all 16 wins Jeremy Pruitt had in Tennessee.
Oh, they did the Les Miles.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I was like, well, can you give that 2012? Can we go back in time and give that 2012 game to Carolina and down there?
Yeah.
The 2-point loss. I'll take that one back, right? The hat. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting because, look, I've always been of the belief, no matter what the program's been, you got to take the fan hat off. And I know everybody in the chat box and listening and on the message boards and out in Gamecock land in general, not just the diehards, would love to see Tennessee go on probation. I mean, come on, you guys know, but you take the fan hat off. It's fun but out of the bowl picture, postseason ineligibility.
You mean a ban? Yeah.
The ban, they get banned for a year or two because that's the kind of thing that really hurts your program. And I think the rules are stated these days. If you do get a bowl ban, just like with Penn State, what happened to them? It's common where your kids are eligible to transfer out. Even if they transferred in already once. So that could potentially be harmful. That said, I've always kind of felt like it was unfair for new coaches, new players, or players that weren't involved to get punished because those are the ones, and fans that weren't rogue, fans that just kind of show up and give their money and pay for seats and stuff and didn't have anything to do with it. I think it's fair. Those are the individuals that get punished for these situations. I mean, the rogue boosters or the rogue coaches get fired or disassociated, So I've always felt that way. At the same time, a $5,000 fine. I mean,
accompanied with 3%.
Yeah, plus 3% of their budget. That's just the starting line, right? Yeah,
that's going to be a pretty penny. I mean, that 3% can add up in addition to the $8 million. The other fine. I just kind of thought it was interesting they mentioned $5,000 in there, but look, this is going to be a drop in the bucket for some of these schools. So and then they start asking if you're not going to make them vacate wins, and you're not going to make them even if vacating wins is stupid. Even if you make them vacate wins, it's not like they didn't win it. Then, it's not like you go back and say, "Oh, well, they actually didn't win that game."
That is. Let me be clear too. That is part of this. A vacation of all records in which student athletes competed while ineligible. The University of Tennessee has to provide a written report to the NCAA informing them of which games they won that these student athletes participated in. So like you said, Phil, there's not a lot they're going to have to go through. So it'll be pretty simple to figure it out.
Does Muschamp get the 2018?
Yeah, I mean,
that's right.
Muschamp's climbing the ladder.
And the opener of next year. But Will Muschamp's going to be he's going to have a winning record by the time this is
I know. He's going to want more money. Yeah, absolutely.
I could see it. This would be the ultimate, and I know this is a funny hypothetical, but it would. The Ray Tanner haters would go nuts if there was some kind of clause in the contract that he gets paid retroactively for wins that are vacated by other schools. And Carolina had to write him another check. That's not happening, folks. Don't stop.
No.
Get off the phone. Still dial 803-7. If you dialed an 803-777 number in the last 20 seconds,
hang
chill
up.
out. Okay, hang up.
Red button.
But no, I think
hang up the phone.
It's very interesting. Once Tennessee kind of became proactive with it and started firing everybody, including Philip Fulmer, and they can say he retired, but they put old Phil out to pasture. I didn't think they would get a bowl ban, and they've got and then they hired a new AD who's Danny White's tremendous. He's very smart. He knows to work his way around it. They took some self-inflicted penalties, and away they go. They're not going to miss that $20 million or whatever. I think what's going to be interesting moving forward, JB, to your point is, okay, so this is kind of the first one. If they catch somebody really screwing up, which they're not really enforcing much at all right now, but if they catch somebody doing it and it's egregious and you got them dead center, what's the next fine? Could you see a school have to give up like $150 million, like give up their entire TV contract money for a year?
Yeah, I don't know.
Could you see something like that would have it would have a pandemic style devastating impact on an entire athletic department? That could have some teeth, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean that's the way to really.
I'm not sure
hurt
this has a lot of teeth.
Yeah, programs, but this could be the start, JC, of a shift in the way that penalties are handed out, because money's where it hurts. You saw the SEC do the same thing with starting to increase penalties for things like field storming and stuff like that. You're going to hit them in the pocketbook. That's hey, it's just like everybody else. You want to hurt somebody the worst, hit them in the pocketbook.
Well,
but,
and
I mean, still $8 million. That's
it is. Well, and
if
you add up too, Phil, like let's I'm going to ballpark this because I know it's going to be right in the area, but let's say that their football budget, their overall budget for football is $150 million, or their athletics budget, I should say. Let me make sure that I'm clear on this here. The 3% of the football program budget. So that would be the athletic department wide. So let's say that it's half of that. Let's say that it's $75 million. So you're talking about probably another $2.5 million. So they're probably spending over $10 million in fines. And I'd really have to kind of hamper down, and JC, you'd be able to come up with this a little bit better than I would, just understanding the recruiting calendar. But to your point just a second ago, Phil, you've got here's some language in here: a reduction in football unofficial visits, right, by a total of 40, by a total of 40 weeks during the term of probation. That includes at least 6 weeks per year. So you're talking about 5 years. So some years have 6, some are going to have more. But Tennessee also shall prohibit unofficial visits in connection with 10 regular season games, 4 in the SEC, meaning that there are going to be 10 weeks where they cannot bring unofficial visitors to campus. Now
that does have some teeth. I didn't realize that unofficially. Okay. That does have some teeth.
All right, now here what also has teeth: NIL money. Damn, we can't get him on campus. Somebody get this guy a $30,000 deal, and let's just try to buy him out from underneath whomever else is going to be in the ballpark. So
you can't keep him from sitting and buying his own luxury box,
right? Exactly. So I mean, you can't. I guess you can't technically have him on campus with an unofficial visit. If they get caught, you're busted. But
I think it just takes them off the sidelines. You can't give them discount tickets and all that good stuff. They can come to the games. It'll be similar to when, like before they changed the rules and allowed schools to have unofficial visitors at neutral site games. Which, by the way, South Carolina will have a lot of visitors at that North Carolina game in Charlotte. But
sure,
the kids just used to kind of get together, get their own tickets, and show up. You just can't have them on the sidelines. But having them on the sidelines, guys, that's in recruiting. That's not something when you're talking about like seniors that's really overly important. what the sidelines and unofficial visits during games do is it really sets the table for underclassmen. And you watch a lot of these kids that South Carolina has committed early in this class, and the guys that are really, really interested, they all came to games last year. Many of them came to A&M, Tennessee, those atmospheres. The opener was a big atmosphere, and it really prevents you from, I guess, laying groundwork with a lot of underclass. So it could have a residual effect on Tennessee down the road. Now they're swimming in NIL money. They're probably one of the most organized NIL operations across the board in the country. I mean, but in fairness, when all this was going on with Pruitt, they kind of looked around and said, well, what are we going to do? And they just kind of focused on this before anybody else did. They were out in front, and kudos to them. But it's going to be interesting because, NIL is important. It only does go so far, though, because as much money as Tennessee has, there's other schools with equal resources. And if you don't expose younger players to your program, and other schools do, it's kind of hard for them to kind of get interested. And this is something that's going to last a few years. So that's, to me, Jamie, that has teeth now that I think about it. That's probably, in the grand scheme of things, that could be worse than a bowl ban if they start to struggle to get traction with recruits because of the lack of ability to have them on campus.
Well, and even more of the fine print here, a total reduction in evaluation days of 120 during the term of probation, which again is 5 years. And you've got a total 28-week ban on recruiting communications during the term of probation as well. That includes at least 3 weeks per year to add that up to 28. That also includes a week each in December and in January, and 1 week from March through June. Those are weeks that are generally open for evaluation for college football programs. Tennessee will have to take that week off. They can't do it. I think something else too that's and I'd like to see this more and more. I'm glad. I don't think I've ever seen this before. If y'all have, chime in here. But this is something, it's never going to stop it. But if you're going to continue to impose penalties for misconduct, something like this is probably something that you need to continue to do to be proactive. Each year of the probation term, an external group shall conduct a compliance review of the football program outside of the university with an emphasis on recruiting operations. Each year of the probation term, Tennessee shall, and this is going to be a pain in the you-know-what, but they're going to have to do it, shall host an annual mandatory compliance seminar with an emphasis on recruiting for all football staff. That includes the part-timers. So they're going to have to sleepwalk their way through this thing like, yeah, okay, we don't do this, that, and the other. Staff from either the NCAA's national office or the SEC has to be in attendance to monitor as well. So they've stuck them with the money. They've stuck them with the visits. They've stuck them with the scholarships. They have lost 28 scholarships, and Tennessee previously imposed 16 of their own. So they're at 28, and that's a big deal too. Of course, NIL money will clear up the rest of it. But now they're also sticking them with the boring crap, like University 101, right? We all remember our freshman year of college where you're in there and they're basically teaching you how to sit straight in class and don't drink and all these other things. And you're like, oh my God, how much longer is this going to go? That's what they're going to have to go through for 5 years. So best of luck to them.
Yeah, that is a bit more toothy than I had initially heard it.
Well, I was disappointed with the national media. The only thing that they jumped on was the no bowl ban. Okay, fine. So they're not banned from a bowl, but there is actually you're talking about $10+ million in fines in recruiting.
The recruiting. Yeah, that they did. Now that we got to the nitty gritty, JB, that's going to be a pain. I mean, because that basically freezes their recruiting operations on a lot of days while their competitors are able to do whatever the hell they want. Right. And that matters. I mean, Neyland Stadium, when it's rocking and that campus and Rocky Top and all that stuff, that's a selling point for them, and they also don't necessarily have, a bunch of folks, great players right there in East Tennessee in their backyard. I mean, we've all been there.
Yep. Plenty of times.
I mean, has Pigeon Forge ever had a 5-star? I know.
Well, I think, you compound that, JC, as you said, like with them expanding their footprint and, regaining that brand nationally. Because, I mean, these aren't going to affect the guys from, 100 miles around who, go up to Gatlinburg every once in a while and may catch a UT game. These are going to catch the big ones from out west, that aren't going to have but a extremely limited opportunity to come in on an official or something like that. And you're not going to be able to swing them twice.
Or unofficially, I mean, I mean, Nashville is a growing talent pocket within the state. I mean, they recruit Atlanta just like everybody else, and I mean, all over. But without the unofficial visits, you're gonna, if you're a young man and his family, are you gonna, because of the distance? I mean, I'll drive 3.5 hours if you feed me a $5 buffet and I get some complimentary tickets, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that's what happens on unofficial visits. They're set up pretty nice. I mean, you kind of wink, hey, put $5 in the bucket and have some ice cream or, whatever. But it's a swanky deal, right? Unofficially, it's a great way to watch a game. Now you're driving 3.5 hours. You got to buy tickets that are $100 each. And you got to sit up there in that stadium, which, if you're a little large, even if you wear like a medium and have broad shoulders, you ain't fitting up there, dude.
You don't have to be large.
Football players. Yeah, football players tend to have big families, so they're going to squeeze their butts up there in the stands beside Billy Bob and Lula Jean and with the orange overalls on and yell Rocky Top. No, if you grew up a diehard Tennessee fan, yeah, but I'm just saying, and I'd say the same thing about going to Carolina for a game like that or Georgia, anywhere. Going to a game is a labor of love as a fan. Going to a game on a business trip when you're considering playing there, and you're just sitting up in the stands, and Josh Heupel was like, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up? Hey, buddy. Hey, coach."
Right.
That ain't gonna work. So that JB, I'm glad you read that to me, man, because that kind of got my brain going this fine Friday morning. And that's significant. Yeah, and the headlines was putting no bowl ban. Whatever.
Yeah,
you got to look into that.
If you're watching or listening to this program and you happen to see, like, again, a tweet I just read from Dennis Dodd, biggest win of 23 for the Vols, no postseason sanction for the NCAA. Everything else is just details. That is such a misleading tweet. It's ridiculous. I mean, this is also coming from another national media guy who's like, cancel all the bowl games. So what the hell do you care? That there is teeth in this. Now, Tennessee apparently was very cooperative. That's at least what we're told. And so they say that the NCAA went light on them. I don't know that they actually did go that light on them. I think that next week we're going to hear more about this from Josh Heupel, and I think that Josh Heupel will be able to restate a little bit more from a coach's understanding what's coming over the next few years. And if he lays it out in layman's terms, then people are going to understand that while they didn't get the bomb dropped on them, Tennessee also, they're going to have a much more difficult time continuing to take the steps that they want to take to be back to 1998 Tennessee.
Yeah, it's just a logistical. Yeah, people that say that, I'm surprised. But, man, Dennis, I like Dennis, and he works for us. But dude, I'm gonna tell you, it's there's some things, he and others have said lately, probably really since the pandemic, that I've just been like, wow.
I don't even read it anymore.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, he actually did say one time that Shane Beamer's not going to have the recruiting chops that Brian Harsin at Auburn would. But anyway, I digress. I'm not going to digress on that.
Yeah,
I'm going to say this. Yeah, you don't know anything about recruiting and unless you read, and you didn't read the details, obviously. But you don't know anything about recruiting if you or you don't know the process of recruiting. If you didn't look at those details like you just laid out for me, JB, and go, wow, that's I mean, like I said, it freezes your operation. Recruiting is an ever-evolving, like nowadays, 365-day-a-year machine. You're shutting down your plant over here at Chrysler while Chevrolet's pumping out cars from the line, baby. I mean, that's tough. That's very, very tough. I know next time I talk to Taylor Edwards, or we talk to Taylor Edwards on the show, we'll probably get his take on it, because that would be like he's in charge of all that right now. And I bet it would make his job very, very difficult. Very, very difficult.
We need to step aside. We will get into our discussion of SEC Media Days. It kicks off on Monday when we return. Cocky Joe, I don't know if you can see it that well or not right there. Eastern Shore Custom Clubs. That's the hat you're asking about. It's my buddy's company up in Delaware. These are custom hats. I can't tell you how to get one, because you can't get one unless you go in there and let him fix your swing. But I appreciate you acknowledging it, and I'll wear it more often now that I know that somebody out there likes it. When we get back, which coach will have the most boring appearance at SEC Media Days next week, and which coach will have the most contentious appearance at SEC Media Days? Also, which coach is just happiest to be there? Because didn't it seem like a couple of years ago when Shane walked up there for the first time, he was a guy who, I'm just happy to be here. Is there another one of those type guys this year? I have a guess who that might be, and
I think me too.
Yeah,
it may not be who you think.
Easy.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll hit time
very
out,
happy to be here,
and we'll find out.
Neighbors.
We'll get mine, Schubert, and Mad Dog Mullinax's responses to this question when we return. Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does the Barn Dough Company, where they can build your dream home starting as low as $160 per square foot. If you live in the Carolinas, Georgia, or Tennessee, their turnkey process takes just 4 to 6 months on average and can be custom designed by size and details. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barn Dough Company, Gamecock, owned and operated.
Welcome to TravelingCountryClub.com, your modern golf club experience. Hey folks, this is Michael Manus, former Gamecock golfer, inviting you to play more golf with a membership to TravelingCountryClub.com. With over 40 courses across the Carolinas, our membership provides you with an affordable way to enjoy a club-like golf experience. From the mountains to the coast, we offer golf courses that will challenge all types of golfers, no matter your handicap level or level of play. Plus, we offer unique membership benefits not seen anywhere else as part of Traveling Country Club. In July, we're excited to bring to you the 3rd annual Plunder on Pawleys 2-day golf tournament, with rounds played at Caledonia and True Blue golf courses in the heart of Pawleys Island. Head to TravelingCountryClub.com to register for that event, and it is not exclusive to TCC members, but to become one, you can sign up and bring to life your golf game. Tee it up with Traveling Country Club, TravelingCountryClub.com, TravelingCountryClub.com, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Hey Gamecock fans, it's Evan Stone from Gamecock Baseball. A couple of painters paint the show garnet and black every day and get the job done right at a fair cost. Go to letmepaintsomething.com for information and an estimate. Go Cox.
You heard Evan Stone, Gamecock fans. 10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. LetMePaintSomething.com.
So these early returns in the chat box there. Welcome back, everybody. Inside the Gamecocks, the show. First hour of the show presented to you by Cindy Searfoss and the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty team here in the Upstate. Give Cindy a call at 864-414-5271 for all your upstate residential real estate needs. And yeah, we've got some interesting questions here. So
okay, so yeah, number one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which coach will have the most boring appearance at SEC Media Days?
Now, guys, for me, there's only one correct answer here.
Okay.
And that would be Clark Lee. He has.
You mean your doppelganger?
Yes. Yeah. He's got the warmth of a damn snow pea. He comes across and it's just like this. I don't know. I didn't feel any energy from him last year. And I feel like we're going to get the exact same thing this year. He's just going to get up there and do his Clark Lee thing. I mean, he's so Vandian up one side and down the other. That's what you're going to do.
I think there's more than one correct answer here. I'm going to let JC respond last because he'll talk the longest. Mine is Billy Napier. I get bored out of my mind listening to Billy Napier talk. So I'm going with old what do they call him? Sunbelt Billy?
Sunbelt Billy. That's a good number 2 for me, though. Yeah, definitely my runner up there.
All right, JC.
I am the coach of the Florida Gators.
Is that who you got?
No. I just wanted to say that because Mike and I talked about Forrest Gump for 15 minutes yesterday on JC and Morgan. By the way, that's live. You can listen to it. Aaron Murray's our guest and all that. So shameless plug there. But Napier is a great choice. It'd probably be but I'm gonna go with Mark Stoops. And I'll tell you why. Mark Stoops is sneaky interesting. Occasionally he'll throw a dart like he did at Shane last year with the one-on-one interview. And he's a lot more engaging then, but he's been there a while. This is probably his 12th SEC Media Days or so. Everybody is familiar with his program by now. They respect it. Everybody knows Devin Leary's there, Dane Key's there, whatever. It's Kentucky football, and they win, and they win by getting you in their spider web, as my friend Josh Pate says, and wearing you down. It's not the most exciting, it's not the days of the Tim Couch, Hal Mummy, greatest show on turf days, but it's effective. And a lot of times those types of programs, when there's no controversy and your roster's kind of settled and all that, there's just not a lot of questions. Okay, coach, you looking forward to, are you guys going to go 7-6 this year or 9-4 or 6-7? That's basically spin the wheel of Kentucky football and throw a dart, and you'll be right most of the time. So I'm going to go with Mark Stoops on that. And I would say Zach Arnett, but sometimes new coaches that we in the SEC are not familiar with come in and try to make a statement early. So I'll go with Stoopsy. Shoot.
So we're all a little different. See, Phil, your brother Clark, I like him. I like Clark Lee. I like listening. I don't know what it is. I know it's monotone. I'm with you. But I think there's something spicy about him too, because he's a Vandy guy. And I appreciate that. And I could feel that energy. It might be monotone, but I can feel it. I listen to Billy Napier talk, and when he gets done, I don't really know what the hell just happened, And so hats off to Coach Tanner for hiring to Shane Beamer in South Carolina, or else the last couple of years I'm not sure what he said yesterday, but I that's just. I'll be bored to death when Billy Napier takes the stand unless he does something to unbore the rest of us. Which one of these next coaches might? Which coach will have the most contentious appearance at SEC Media Days? JC, ladies first.
Well, JB, shoot. Yeah, no, I'm not going to go with Kirby. Because Kirby has a way of he's just like Muschamp. Muschamp sometimes will look at a media person like he wants to kill him, but he bites his tongue and kind of, I don't want to say weasels his way out, but talks his way through the hole, the wormhole, and gets out of it. Kirby's kind of the same way. You can tell he wants to just slug somebody that gets a question, but he'll go, University of Georgia Bulldog, he'll do his hair like that and just move on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be Jimbo Fisher.
Okay. Why?
Because I think Jimbo's going to get all these "can you and Bobby Petrino work together" questions.
Yeah.
And you can even tell in the spring he didn't want any part of even discussing that. He's like, that's internal. That's internal.
Well, and DJ Durkin is there too, right?
Yeah, Durkin's on the
Yeah,
defense.
So he's going to be asked about the histoy of the guys, and he's going to have that's coming.
Now Durkin's, but this is Durkin's second year. But
I understand that.
Yeah, you can still. I could see somebody, maybe from the AJC, wrapping a narrative around Jimbo's rogue coordinators. You all have
DJ
Dirk. Look, I'm gonna say this about DJ Dirk, and it was just unfortunate what happened.
Yeah.
He really, it was sad what they did to him at Maryland. And I have no respect for Damon Evans, the AD up there. I'm sorry, Blind Squirrel Sports. I remember Damon when he was the AD at Georgia because he's from Gainesville. And I started my career there in 2002.
I don't think the Dogs are missing him a whole lot.
He was just a disaster, and he's a disaster at Maryland. But I thought it was completely unfair what they did to him. So, he gets a bad rap because of what happened, but he's not. Now, Bobby Petrino is probably morally bankrupt. If you think about it, you think about the motorcycle incident and all, and leaving the Falcons. We left a note in everybody's locker or in the locker room. Hey guys, I'm going to Arkansas. Thanks for the memories.
You're A&M.
He tried to snake Tommy Tuberville, now Senator Tuberville, and I'm not touching anything about him on this show ever for a while. But anyway, he tried to snake Tommy Tuberville's job from him, when he was at Auburn, So Bobby Petrino's very, very interesting character as it is. But I think Jimbo's done with it. I think Jimbo's just, and you can already see him starting to crack. And those are the questions he's going to get. So I'm going to go with Jimbo Fisher.
I am of accord on that one. I was like, Jimbo got to be. Because it's like, because we saw it in the spring where he's like, dancing around, doesn't want to answer any of this. And it's just going to come at him even hot and heavier now because we're closer to the season.
That's what everybody that talks about A&M this year says, can they get along? Even the anonymous coach quotes in Athlon were like, I'm wondering how they're going to get along, and I'm like, if Jimbo will just, and I'm in agreement with that. That Jimbo would be making a tactical error and Jimbo's a good play caller, man. But sometimes when you're the head coach and you're not Steve Spurrier or or Josh Heupel, somebody that's just extremely gifted at it, and that's really why you're the head coach. Like that's why Bobby Petrino was a head coach, because he called plays. You probably need to give it up. I've never thought Jimbo Fisher was an elite play caller. I thought he was maybe like top 10 type of guy. And coaches, Nick Saban thought he was the best ever, but is he as good as Lane Kiffin? There's another guy that has a job because of play calling. Bobby, he'd be dumb to sit there and meddle with Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino, say what you want about him. I watched the Arkansas Southeast Missouri State game
and clear town in a hurry too.
Yeah, it'd be like a Bob Seger.
I'm out.
His life is a Bob Seger song.
Jimbo,
roll me away.
Where's that gal that works in the recruiting department? Tell her to get on the Harley. We're out of here.
Come on, baby.
You accompany all that with just the underperformance that they have been putting together, and that cloud hanging over him too. I just think because you got to figure every question Jimbo's going to get is going to be negatively slanted.
Yeah,
probably.
Look, I'll say this too.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, I watched the Missouri State Arkansas game last year. It was the week after Arkansas played Carolina. Carolina had trouble at times moving the football, and Missouri State was up 17-0. Petrino was just carving them up with an FCS team.
A guy can,
so that's how
can
good,
call plays now.
When he just calls ball plays, that dude is good. Now, personality of you talk about him and Steve Spurrier. So two opposite ends of the personality and probably the morality stick there too.
What?
But,
it's not even close.
Jimbo just needs to leave him the hell alone. Let him run the offense, call the play, stand on the sidelines on the headset. If you want to hold the play sheet in your hand, little Jimbo, and you pretend like you're calling plays, that's fine, buddy. Pat him on the head and go. And you bet at A&M. A&M's not run by normal people. You bet at A&M. There's some guy in a big 10-gallon cowboy hat with his boots propped up on the desk, and he's got Aggie stuff all behind him. Come on in, Jimbo. We're going to hire Bobby Petrino to call the plays, and we just assume if you'd like to still be the head coach of the Aggies, just stay out of it, okay? All right, good talk. Yeehaw. Yeehaw.
All right. While I understand where both of you are coming from, I disagree. I think the most contentious coach is going to be Nick Saban. And let me tell you why. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because a lot of the questions he's going to receive are not going to be about the University of Alabama.
That's true.
They're going to be about LSU. They're going to be about Georgia. They're going to be about gambling. They're going to be about expansion. They're going to be about Texas. They're going to be about Oklahoma. They're going to be about Texas themselves coming to town and having Steve Sarkisian bringing his Longhorns back to where he once called plays. And at some point in time, he is going to say, I've had enough. I want to talk about my football team. And it's going to go from there. He might throw the Coke bottle. So I'm going – I just don't think you can discount Saban for having his moment just when you feel like, right? Georgia won the national championship. LSU, and we'll get to this in a little while, has a great chance at being picked to not only win the West, but there's going to be some people out there who think they're going to sneak up and win the whole deal. Okay, we know that's coming. It's almost like people are trying to slide Bama back into the 1B group of the SEC, upper second tier, and he ain't gonna like that. He ain't gonna like it. So I predict at some point in time, someone's gonna get a good talking to from Nick Saban, or the whole room will, based on one question. So I'm going with the greatest ever do it, Nick Saban, outside of Lord Dabo, of course. All right, final one in this segment, and then we'll hit a quick timeout. What coach will be the, quote, happiest to be there? Oh, this is great, man. I'm just thrilled to be here, guys. I'm just thrilled to be here. Who is it? JC?
I'm going to go with Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
We're all together on this one. Okay. Yeah, we're all
that dude, after he got run out at Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah.
And you could tell whenever you'd see an interview with him, and look, Nick Saban wanted to hire him as an analyst, and it was such a sticky deal with the league office. They told Lord Saban no. Sankey told Saban, you don't really get you don't tell Nick Saban no unless it's egregious. And you could tell whenever they interviewed him, man, he's like that lost that dude whose friends left him behind. And he's just kind of looking around going, oh, where's my friends? Look, Hugh Freeze was portrayed in an Academy Award-winning movie. He's somebody. I'm somebody, dang it. Yeah. I was a child star.
Yeah, but this tone is he's not going to talk about the past at all.
Because he's back in the game.
He's already
back in the game,
yeah.
baby.
I'm a believer.
Thank God.
Liberty, he's going to talk about Jesus, which is fine with me because I'm a Christian and I'm a believer.
Yeah, and how the Lord's blessed him. And,
you know where it's going. Yeah, absolutely.
That Bible verse about God will restore all things. And then he'll probably end up getting on his knees backstage and kissing Lane Kiffin, squaring the booty for not taking that Auburn job, Because although that would have opened Ole Miss, there's no way in hell Ole Miss is hiring him back, And I always thought when Hugh got out and got back in the game at Liberty, I was like, Auburn or Tennessee will end up hiring him. And I was shocked Tennessee didn't hire him, because he's from Memphis.
I was too. Yeah.
I was shocked, but I was like, Harson's not going to last. But then Auburn, honestly, they went after Kiffin first. Kiffin – Hubert Freeze was the number 2 choice, but I was like, this is the school that hired Bruce Pearl. I didn't even think twice about it. And this is football, which they care about a whole hell of a lot more. Yeah. They're gonna hire Hugh Freeze. And look, man, I think what Hugh Freeze did at Ole Miss, I think there was a lot that went on. But I think there's a lot that goes on unreported a lot of places. And I think we're in a new era where, he's not going to have to do that kind of stuff. And I think, say what you want about him maybe being hypocritical or whatever. I do think he's a good man. And I think he's a good football coach and deserves a second chance. Now, things go south at Auburn, then see you later, Hugh Freeze. But I think he's going to just have a big old grin on his face, and maybe he'll be happy. He'll be happy.
We're going to talk a little bit more than likely about
that. We all agree on that one, man. That's the least interesting question on the board here, and that we're all like, Hugh Freeze. And I know there's an argument for Zach Arnett, but I think there's going to be a certain solemnity and weight that gets carried with that for him, that he internally may be the happiest to be there, but you can't show that. Not this year. Next year, maybe.
He'll probably carry the most honor in there. There's no doubt in my mind, Zach Arnett, the first words out of his mouth will more than likely be in honoring Mike Leach. And I'm sure that the SEC itself will actually be honoring Mike Leach next week in some way, shape, or form as well. All right, let's hit our final timeout of our number one. When we return, there's only 5 quarterbacks attending SEC Media Days this year. Which of those 5 will be the most highly sought after amongst the media? Basically, who do they want to talk to the most? Which program will be the most overhyped? And which program will be the most underhyped next week in Nashville? Hang tight. We are painted garnet and black by a couple of painters in South Carolina and in Georgia. LetMePaintSomething.com. If you need it painted at your home, fence, deck, indoor, outdoor, cat, dog, kid, whatever it is, Tristan's team is the best, and they have the best prices in the whole state of South Carolina and the whole state of Georgia. LetMePaintSomething.com. We'll be right back.
The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
If you're in the real estate market in the Low Country or even in the Midlands, please contact me, JB, with Coast to Coast Realty SC. You hear me and see me every day here on Inside the Gamecocks, and it would be an honor to earn your business. I've been around real estate my entire life, as it's somewhat of a family business. I work with an elite team of experts from loans to insurance to closing, and they make my clients and my life very easy. It really is elite. Coast to Coast Realty SC.com is where you can find our staff, and you can always reach out to me here as well. Go Gamecocks.
Coach O here, and when I'm not eating average jambalaya or celebrating endless summer in Destin, I like to eat pimento cheese straight out the bucket. And the only pimento cheese I like to eat is from Nana's Porch. It's award-winning. It'll melt in your mouth. It's good on a cracker. It's good in a bowl. It's good on a piece of bread. Also, don't forget Nana's Porch has a hell of a food truck. It's award-winning as well, and they're here for all of your catering needs. So get online, nanasporch.com. It's good. Coach O signing off. Endless summer, go Tiger.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. Final segment of the first hour Inside the Gamecocks, the show. So, all right, switch gears.
Let's switch gears a little bit. We're gonna be out of time in about 6 minutes, and those two questions we're gonna have to go back and forth. And I know JC, his answer alone will take 5 minutes. So then, Phil, you and I will have to squeeze in 2 answers into one, and we can't do that. All right, so we'll switch gears to these, and then we'll come back to who will be the most overhyped and underhyped in media days next week. I'm assuming we're all going to agree on this, but I'll ask it. Who will be picked? I'm going to answer for everybody on this. We all know Georgia's going to be picked to win the East. We're all in agreement on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who will be picked to win the West?
I think LSU, just because, depending on how many pseudo Alabama blogs got credentialed for this thing, because there are some that do. But I think the media, just judging from kind of the chatter, LSU will be picked. It'll be closer than people think, but LSU will be picked.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Mm.
I agree too. I think that I think it's going to be pretty close. I think there's just going to be. I mean, LSU won it last year, but I'm with you. I think LSU will be picked to win the West. I think we all probably agree on this as well. Who will be picked to win the league? It's hard for me to fathom that LSU is going to be picked to win the league over Georgia. Would y'all agree with that? But I actually think that might be a little bit closer than people think. I think LSU is the flavor of college football coming into the year. Now, whether it pans out that way, I don't know. But would you agree with that? Like, it's going to be tighter than just, it's Georgia.
LSU is going to take a step forward on defense this year. I don't think they were quite as good on defense as we're accustomed to them being. And I think they, some of their younger players are going to have another year and they may get back to it. And keep in mind, with Jaden Daniels, a quarterback, this bunch put 30 on Georgia. And I don't know what it is about Mercedes-Benz and Georgia's defense in those last. I mean, they played 3 games in that stadium last year, shut Oregon completely down, but then LSU scored some on them, and even though they blew them out, and then Ohio State let them up. But that offense can take another step and be lethal, and that would be, if I'm looking at that game, my question would be, are we going to see Georgia as dominant on defense as they have been, or are they just going to merely be, instead of a top 3 defense, maybe like a top 20? And would that allow LSU to move the ball? But I still think it's Georgia's world until it's not.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think I would. Yeah.
There's our man the squirrel here asked a question. Do y'all not think Tennessee could present a problem for my dogs in Knoxville? The answer to that question, I think, is an absolute yes. And my reasoning for that is because of where the game is being played. In the schedule, it's the second to last game of the year.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. November the 18th. I mean,
we talk all the time about Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Maggie Valley, because we all like going there. And it's look, it's a little on the cool side up in Knoxville that late in the season.
Well, and Joe Milton having 10 games under his belt. Like, if they had to play that game the third week of the season,
they'll either be Milton or it'll be the freshman. And if it's the freshman, he will have had games under his belt. That's a weird week on the schedule to play that game. Tennessee, Georgia is usually earlier. But of course, Tennessee, Carolina is usually earlier, and it was that week. So that's I think the SEC scheduling department kind of said, hey, wouldn't that be cool if that were for the East? And, maybe it won't be, but that's a tough spot on the schedule for it. If I'm a Georgia fan, I'm going to be a little bit weird about Auburn, because that rivalry has been so one-sided toward Georgia, and it used to not be. And they got a new coach, and and they're capable. They don't have as much talent as Georgia, not even close, but it's down there. If you see that an upset, maybe that's it. And that Tennessee game, both those games.
Well, we'll hit the timeout here. Either one of you, without looking, either one of you know who Tennessee plays the week before Georgia? Without looking.
Is it A&M?
No.
Wofford?
I think blue collar, middle class, middle of the
Kentucky?
No.
Mm-mm.
On the road.
On the road. Blue collar.
At Missouri. Talk about trap game. Because the week before they've got UConn, so they're going to steamroll right through them. And then the Dogs are coming up in 2 weeks. So
it's interesting.
I'm just saying. I'm not a big believer in Missouri, but just saying.
And you do talk about battling the elements. Missouri, by that time of year, it gets cold.
Yeah.
Because their climate's a little, I mean, even, I know at least a little, I said a little cool in Knoxville. Missouri is basically in the upper or the central Midwest. I mean, it's not, it gets really cold there in the winter. Trust me. It's only 6.5 hours.
Which, by the way, that Missouri game, although they will have played UConn the week prior in Neyland, I'm talking about the Vols here. Mm-hmm. Before that, they're on the road at Kentucky, on the road at Alabama. That will be the third consecutive SEC game that they've played on the road.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
That game may end up being like a noon kickoff on ESPNU or something.
and that's the game you lose. You hear Columbia, Missouri. Yeah, careful.
Yeah, that is tricky, JB. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's interesting because you got to figure if Tennessee, let's say Tennessee handles their business but drops the Alabama game. You're heading into that Georgia handling their business undefeated. You feel the pressure at that Missouri game. I mean, you're already feeling it's like, okay, guys, all we got to do is win the next, and then we're in. Because you got the head-to-head at that point. If you can take out Georgia, even with a loss to Alabama, you win the East.
Yeah,
Tennessee
with the other ones.
Tennessee,
and then you got Vanderbilt after that, but
it's hard to predict anybody to upset Georgia. I'm not at this point. I'm with JC.
No.
I'm never going to predict anybody to beat Georgia until they just stun the world or the college football world, and it happens. But I will say this about the Vols. They opened the season with Virginia, Austin Peay at Florida, and UTSA. You got to feel good about them going 4-0, although they have not won in the Swamp since 2003. 20 years. They haven't won in the Swamp in 20 years. But if they do that, and they're better than Florida, if they're 4-0, how good of a season Tennessee has, especially compared to last year. Okay, the Vols are back. They're potential playoff contenders. They're where they should be. It's all going to be decided in the next 4 weeks. South Carolina, A&M, at Bama, at Kentucky. They get through that at 3-1. The sky is the limit. If they don't, then it could be a 9-3, 8-4.
Let's go to Tampa. No, I think I'll point this out about Tennessee, Missouri, though. Josh Heupel, the beginning of the bloodbath with his offense was in Columbia, Missouri, his first year, 62-24.
Yeah.
Last year, it was a touchdown game. I went outside to get a beer. I walk right back around the corner, and it's like, 17-point game, and they ended up winning 69. And that was the week before they played Carolina. And that's why I think we were all like, they're going to get Carolina's butt. 69-24. So they put 62 and then almost 70 on old Eli.
That's 131 points.
They just scored at will. They're still, they just scored another touchdown against Missouri.
Well, you know what? I'm not a Tennessee guy, but I'll just say this. They could score 70 on Missouri every time they play them. And everybody else can too. If that's what gets them
and talking about Florida,
we've had enough.
It's going to take Florida winning on Tennessee's defense just being terrible. Breakdowns on special teams, and then Joe Milton having a turnover fest in the Swamp, I think, for Florida to hang with them. I think this is the year they go down and finally get that W.
I'm with you, and I don't think.
I'm gonna be mad if they beat us in the Swamp. Tennessee's never beat us in the Swamp, Billy.
We are powered.
There'll be comments after that.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
There'll be a little something leak out that we'll all just kind of smile and nod.
Especially if Piper goes in there, hangs 50 on him, then calls it the Vols Fun and Gun or something like that. Uh-oh. All right, we're powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston, electricbikescharleston.com to power you. You can be anywhere. You don't have to be in the low country. It's too damn hot outside to be walking around actually pedaling the thing. Get one with a motor. Put a beer on it. Get where you got to go. From the mountains to the coast, electricbikescharleston.com. When we return in the final hour, the most overhyped and underhyped programs next week at Media Days. Where will the Gamecocks be picked? Will any major news break? And what is the topic of the week? Plus, I have 2 questions that I did not put on y'all's one-sheeter. There'll be surprise questions for the both of you. So
I love surprises.
You're going to have to freak out about it during the break. I promise you, you're going to have no clue where this is coming from. Hang tight, everybody. It's Friday on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Are you looking to buy a new home? Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
That's a good looking chicken.
Yeah,
good. It's a glorious game.
That's a good looking chicken. Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show. Second hour of the show for Friday. About to wrap it up. Where do we want to jump right back into the list, or we want to talk about?
Yeah, let's roll. I'm having fun.
This is fun. I like it.
Well, I
always have fun.
We will have fun around here, and leave the drama for your mama, is what I was once told. I never
extra
forgot
fun
that.
today. I'm just having extra fun. Oh my goodness.
Super stuff. We were going to do this in the last segment, but we got a little bit overextended with Tennessee's violations in the first, so we got a little bit backed up. Which program, guys, will be the most overhyped program next week at SEC Media Days? And you can take that however you want it, via predictions or via media coverage or whatever it may be.
Hold on. I think I was in agreement with you on this one.
You agree with you talking about with me or Jason?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to look at your answers here to see if I am. Oh. Yeah, because I went back and forth with this. I was like,
I did too.
I'm sticking with it. I'm going with Missouri.
I agree with you. I think Missouri will be way overhyped. Yep. Who are you going to say? Who are you going back and forth with?
I was going back and forth with. I think the hype for LSU might be a little much. Now, I'm not saying they can't live up to it, but I think when we come out of this thing, we're going to be like, whew, a lot of damn purple this week coming out of Nashville,
I thought about picking LSU. I did because it feels right. Look, this is a team that, yes, they won the West, and because they beat Alabama by virtue of a 1-point win on a 2-point conversion against Alabama at home. They did lose by 2 touchdowns to Texas A&M at the end. I said they played good on offense against Georgia, but bottom line is they lost that game by 20. They gave up half 100. Their defensive improvement has to factor, and it could all be down the drain. The hype if they get tattooed by the Noles in the opener on Sunday, which, by the way, I'll be watching from Charlotte. So I almost went with LSU, but I'm gonna go a different direction. I'm gonna go with Ole Miss. And here's the deal. I think sometimes
you think Ole Miss is overhyped.
Will be overhyped because you're sort of looking, if you're picking the West, you're like, okay, Alabama, LSU, number 1 and 2. And then everybody's got a bunch of questions. How is Bobby Petrino and Jim Fisher going to get along? That's A&M. Hugh Freeze in his first year. Auburn's going to be better. How much better? Arkansas sort of slid at the end of last year.
We'll get to them in a minute.
Trendy pick last year. They do have KJ Jefferson back. Speaking of what I think is a little overhyped, but that's okay.
Yep.
They got KJ Jefferson back, but that's all right. Mississippi State's got a new coach and a new style of play. So I think the media will go, oh, hey, Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, they got 3 good quarterbacks, and Quinshad Judkins coming back. And Lane's a great play caller. But look at Ole Miss's results last year. Arkansas slid, but the Rebels slid quite a bit too. They lost them. They lost the Egg Bowl. They and I think too at that particular program, even Hugh Freeze, I think it was his last year or second, dipped back to 5 and 7. I think Lane's done a good job of being consistently good at Ole Miss. I mean, they're not great, but they're good. But this may be the year they do take a dip, and because I think the media will gravitate toward picking them behind Alabama and LSU. For that reason, I think they may be a little overhyped.
Let me ask you this on the topic of Ole Miss, JC. Do you think that there is a better than average chance that they lose in week 2 at Tulane? Because I think a lot of people have forgotten that Tulane actually played in the Sugar Bowl last year against Southern Cal. You know damn well that if anybody in that area is a Green Wave fan, they're going to be at the game in week 2 against the Ole Miss Rebels. Is there a better than average chance that they could go on the road, and would that be an upset? I guess it would. Technically,
that'd be a bunch of Ole Miss fans down there. Think of Archie. Do it for Archie.
And I'll tell you what, even to double up on that, not to extend this we got plenty of questions to get to here, but the following week, the Rebels welcomed Georgia Tech to town, and I don't think that they should have any trouble with them. But if you go on the road and get beat by Tulane, and then they got to go to Bama, by the way, and then LSU. So might not want to lose against Tulane.
I'm going to be a homer here and say I wonder what the defense of Tulane is going to look like without Travian Robertson. And did Chris Hampton go to Oregon? Did I read that right?
That's what I was told. Yeah,
was that supposed to happen and didn't work out? So I'm going to Google that real quick and say, what's Tulane's defense going to look like without the Gamecocks?
Yep, he's at Oregon.
Yep, he's there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So both Gamecocks are gone, and Hampton's out at Oregon.
Defensive coordinator Chris Hampton, hopefully.
They both, and he's so.
Outstanding.
Well, how bad did that Tulane roster get gutted at last year? Was that a upperclassman laden team? I don't know. I can't speak.
No, they're picked. I think Phil to because the American also lost those 4 schools and got new ones. I think they're picked to be top 2 or 3 in that league. I think it's fortunate for Tulane they don't play at the Superdome anymore. They have their own on-campus stadium. It's about the size of Ole Miss's. I'm sorry, I always kind of beat up Ole Miss, but there's somebody told me one time their stadium looks like a 5A high school in Alabama, and that's the truth. It's a great atmosphere. But anyway, Ole Miss is going to bring some fans, but it's a great time.
They can't lose that game.
No.
Yeah, it's a great time to be. But Willie Fritz, man, I mean, they beat Southern Cal, the mighty Trojans, in the Cotton Bowl,
and they scored 52 points.
They beat
in great fashion.
So. And Ole Miss is under Lane Kiffin. I don't know that they're ever going to be elite on defense. So we'll see.
What happened to the Shark?
The Land Shark?
What happened to the Land Sharks? I thought they
swam. That was my idea. We have the Wild Boys Land Shark defense.
If they cannot get beat by Tulane, they can't do it. If they do, they ain't going to Bama and winning. I don't think so. And they're not going to beat LSU.
They're not going to Bama and winning anyway. I mean,
right. So they have to start green.
But if you look at it from an Ole Miss standpoint, JB, you're absolutely correct. It's like, don't lose that Tulane game. That's kind of like that East Carolina road game. The Gamecocks had a couple of years ago. Like, don't lose that one. You know, you could. Don't lose it. And thankfully, thank you, Juju McDowell and Zeb Noland and Parker White.
DeCarrion Joyner.
Yeah.
For catching a pass in the back of the end zone. Yeah. Once
Dude,
again, DeCarrion saves the day.
Thanks to everyone involved. I'm celebrating. I'm celebrating the entire organization except the offensive coordinator that day, because he should have known to run outside zone before the fourth quarter.
Why would you? All right, we're not doing that. All right, Phil, who is your most overhyped team in the league? Missouri, right? With me.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Missouri. I think a lot of people are just people love to talk up
I
Drinkwitz and that program, like they are coming, you know, it's like they've got the pieces coming back now. They've done well in the portal. They've done this, they've done that. And it just, I mean, it's middle of the road every year since, of course, they first came into the league.
Look, I think this is how flimsy the beginning of the season is for Missouri. They've got South Dakota, Rick Stockstill's Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee State. Hats off to him, by the way. I just want to mention I'm a Middle Tennessee State fan now because so many former Gamecocks have been there. Coach Stockstill, Coach Toman, now Jerry Myers is up there as the baseball coach. So go Blue Raiders. I have a lot of respect for that program. But so they've got those two to open. But guys, then they have Kansas State, who, if I'm not mistaken, won 10 games last year. They do have them at home. And then they also have Memphis. And then they have to go to Vanderbilt. And I'm not one who, well, I guess I'll talk to you, Phil. I'm not one who is just the believer that, and I said this last year before the season started on Bill Gunner's show in the morning, I thought Vanderbilt would win a couple of games in the SEC. And they did. Yeah. And I think that they'll do that again this year, if not 3. I like the way that Clark Lee has handled his role as head coach of the Commodores. I think he's doing the things that it takes to win games at Vanderbilt. Just based on what I've seen, there's some similarities to how Bobby Johnson did things, 15 years ago or so, and before Coach Franklin got to school there and kind of extended that and took it up a notch. So, but with all that said, you would first glance, knowing what we've known historically about college football, right? Knowing what we've known historically about the teams that are in those first 5 weeks, South Dakota, Middle Tennessee State, Kansas State, Memphis, and Vanderbilt, you do think Missouri could be 5-0. And I'm not saying that they won't be 5-0. They could be. I'm not predicting that, but I think that they certainly could. I also think they could be 2-3. Like that's how thin that line is, I think, for the Tigers. And I think that a lot of the people next week will cross that line. I think they'll probably give them through those first 5 weeks a great chance at being 5-0, if not 4-1, maybe with a loss against Kansas State. And then you look down the schedule and they've beaten South Carolina 4 straight times. You've got Arkansas, you've got a Florida team that's down. You've got to go to Kentucky. No one's going to pick them to beat Georgia on the road. No one's going to pick them to beat LSU, and probably no one's going to pick them more than likely to beat Tennessee, although I rolled out why they could earlier because of where the game lies. So I just think that there's going to be a bunch of people thinking Missouri goes 7-5 or 8-4 this year. I think that that's going to be a reality. The reality is, though, in the last 4 years, Missouri's not been better than 6-6, and I don't think they will be better than 6-6 this year. So I think they'll be overhyped.
No, and I think, and that's why I, said, Drink might be, his seat might be getting a little warm because after that Vanderbilt game, I don't see why they can't go 5-0, but you could legitimately finish your season 1-6 after that.
Yeah.
And that's going to hurt. That's going to sting. So that hype, I think, carries into the season, and then their dreams just get crushed after, basically starting in October.
Hey, guys, I will say this, though. They're going to win one of their 4 home SEC games. They're going to win one of them. If not, they might win 2. I think they'll win 1. But their home slate in the SEC is Missouri fans, if they're alive, are looking at this going, oh, my God, we've got LSU, we've got South Carolina, we got Tennessee, and we've got Florida all coming to town. That's a hell of a home schedule for a program like Missouri. And I was just joking just a minute ago, but about them being alive, because sometimes you don't know if they are or not. The home games at noon in Columbia, Missouri it's like you don't even hear anybody. But at night, much like everywhere else, it's a little rowdy. All right. Which program will be the most underhyped team in the SEC next week? Phil? Mad Dog?
As boring as it is, I kind of agreed with you on this pick too. To not have
Phil, do
debate.
I need to send you my notes every day?
No, I mean, I was sitting there looking at these, and I even did it to where I was like, all right, I'm going in clean. I'm just going to look at the questions. I'm not going to look at the answers. And then I was like, on these two, I was like, yeah, you know what? I kind of agree with that.
Why
I like Auburn here. Yeah, I do.
I'm
I think
Auburn too.
I think Hugh Freeze is going to going to turn that program around, not to where they're competing for the top of the West or anything, but let's say similar to Shane Beamer did here at South Carolina, and that they're going to overperform. And I think it is perfectly reasonable for people to think that they won't heading into the season, but that they're gonna screw around and win a couple of games that they're not supposed to.
I think that there are going to be, and JC, your oh man, I didn't even see there. Church reference is fantastic. Cross-eyed cricket.
Oh yeah, did that for you, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate you. You know what? I might crank that up when I get off here. I think that Auburn is the most underhyped team next week too. I anticipate them being picked, if not dead last in the West, second to last. And I don't agree with that. I think that I'm with you. I actually, you said it very well, and I went and looked at all the schedules, and I've looked at a ton of information over the last week or so on all 14 teams in the league. And I do think that Auburn is going to lose a game they're not supposed to lose in year one under Hugh Freeze. I also think they're going to win a game that they're not supposed to win in year one under Hugh Freeze. And I think that they'll win their share of toss-ups as the year goes along under their new head football coach. You look at UMass, you look at Cal, you look at Samford, you look at New Mexico State. Those are their non-conference games. They're better than all of them. And they realistically should be 4-0 in those games. So you're talking about having to win 2 games in the league. And their schedule, I think, helps them to do that because they do go to Vanderbilt. They have both Ole Miss and Mississippi State at home. They go to Arkansas, and we hinted at this earlier. I don't think Arkansas is going to be as good this year. And then outside of that, they've got A&M, Georgia, and LSU, and they're not going to beat any of them. And they also have Bama. They won't win that game either. But there are enough opportunities for them to get to 6, if not maybe even 7 wins in year one under Hugh Freeze, and I think they'll do it.
It's going to be interesting. That game at Cal, which is boy, I'd give anything to be at the Auburn tailgate in Berkeley and to get their reaction.
Are they going to let them
to that atmosphere? Yeah, I mean,
hey man, you can smoke weed out here, but you can't drink. Wait, what?
Yeah, they're wearing masks.
Grilling.
Still out. They're still wearing masks in Berkeley, but it's going to be interesting. They call it the Strawberry Canyons, and Cal actually redid it's kind of a historic football stadium, kind of down in a bowl or whatever. Berkeley's the land that Tom forgot, though. I think things just they got to 1968 and we're like, let's just keep rolling.
We've arrived.
But that's interesting. Cal's got a really good coach, I think, and it's a tough job. And it's even tougher now with what goes on out in California. But that's going to be interesting. You lose that one. And anything can happen on the West Coast. I remember UCLA beat a very good Tennessee team one year, and UCLA finished 4-8. But, you win that one, you beat Samford as expected, and you go to A&M. What if, guys, A&M in the battle of NIL loses at Miami, and they're reeling already and grumbling, and Auburn historically has done pretty well in College Station. I think they've only lost like 1 game out there. Mm-hmm. And then so what if they're 4-0 with Georgia coming to town? And they could be. I think overall, big picture, Hugh Freeze needs to get to like where he got year one at Ole Miss. And I remember that year because they were terrible the year before. They got to the Birmingham Bowl and won it and had 30,000 in the stands there. And that facilitated. He needs a year kind of like that, maybe a little better. But I don't think they're going to be the most underhyped team. That wasn't my pick.
Oh, okay. Well, you just spent 5 minutes talking about ours. So who's yours?
I underhyped. I'll have to go with Florida.
No, that's interesting. Okay.
And because I think whereas, you say Auburn's going to be picked pretty low, I think that's more of a function of, well, who do you pick above them? I mean, who do you pick below them? Because all these other programs are on pretty solid footing. And Auburn did finish good last year, I thought. But I think Florida, and it's just because I think you're actually going to see people pick Florida last in the East. And behind Vandy,
really?
Missouri, and everybody else. I think.
Well, if that happens next week, you realize they're going to fire Napier before the season starts
for the pick.
They're not going to listen to that crap for 5 weeks.
Well, here's the thing, though. They lost a lot of guys, right? And they've recruited well, and they hit the portal and all that. It's not just the quarterback situation that everybody points to with losing Anthony Richardson, who I don't think was very good in terms of impacting wins and losses anyway. He helped them beat Utah, helped them kind of stay in it against Tennessee and Georgia, but, and then obviously they beat the Gamecocks. But their defense lost a lot of good players. And did they, and in Gainesville, the word I've been getting is that they're internally, while everybody's talking about the quarterback outside, internally they're worried about the defense again. And they weren't, except for against Carolina, they weren't good on defense last year. So, I think people are starting. So I think they'll be picked last, and then what I think will happen is they will struggle kind of early, and a reality will set in or whatever. And then because when you're building a program, you can use that to about the second half of the season, whether that's a quarterback change, whether that's playing more freshmen. Florida's going to kind of put it together. They always have speed. They always have athletes. They're always going to be dangerous. They're not. They're not, even in their worst years, they're not helpless. And so I think they'll be a dangerous team down the stretch and maybe even sneak into a bowl. But I think just the drama of Florida being picked way low in the East, which I think will happen, will be a whole lot more negative than perhaps the end result for the Gators in 2023.
You know who their quarterback is, right?
Graham Mertz.
And all right. So let me ask you this question. I'm not trying to. You might be right. This isn't really an argument. I'm just wanting to pick the brilliant mind of my dearest friend JC Sherbert here. What do you think after their first 6 games that their record is going to be? Utah on the road, McNeese, Tennessee, Charlotte, at Kentucky, and Vandy.
Well, I think they'll beat Vandy. Are they going
to beat any of those other teams?
They lost to Vandy last year.
But wait, they're going to beat Vandy, but people think they're going to. But you think they're going to be picked to finish last?
Yeah, but I mean, Vandy, I think, can win some other games. I mean, people need to watch out for Vandy. They got a good quarterback. I mean, they can sneak up.
Agree.
I mean, keep in mind Vandy also beat Kentucky last year, so it wouldn't surprise me to see Vandy beat Kentucky and Missouri. I would say South Carolina, but I
hope so.
Them coming to Columbia.
Literally, I'm pulling for Vandy to do that.
Yeah,
to beat the Gamecocks.
No.
But no. I think 0-1. They could be
Missouri
2-2.
They're 2-2.
And I'll say this about Kentucky and Florida: you can see it year to year when UK plays the Gators. Stoops is almost about to go on a run against them like he did Carolina, because it's the same script every year, and Florida never, reacts and adjusts. And he followed the same plan 2 years ago that he did in Gainesville this past year to win, and then they got to go back up there. So I think he sort of figured them out. So yeah, you could be sitting on 0-2 in the league, plus a loss to Utah, 2-3 with Vandy come down 3-3, and then they're at Carolina before the bye week. So 3-4, you'd hope. And then so then you got Georgia, after a bye week. My thing is they regroup. Some of the younger players that are very talented starting to play more. They give Georgia a little bit of because they gave Georgia a little bit of a game last year. They give Georgia a little more of a game. They come back. They beat Arkansas's butt in the swamp. They go to LSU and play them off their feet. They go to Missouri and beat the crap out of them, and then probably upset Florida State in the end. And then that next year, when the Gamecocks don't have to play Florida anymore, they'll be good. But and I'll share a little scoop. Talking to someone inside the program yesterday, this staff, like when they look at the games this year, and obviously they're going to take one game at a time, but the broad sense is, two they don't want to lose at all, Florida at home and at Missouri. They have to beat Missouri. So there's a little scoop there. But I think Florida will be somewhat underhyped in an unconventional way.
Florida at home? You mean
for South Carolina?
No.
What, as far as important games are?
Oh, you're talking about the game. You're talking about the Gamecocks. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about Florida. Gotcha.
No.
Okay.
See, inside the Gamecock program,
yeah.
They don't really circle games. But if there were two to circle, circle those.
Fair enough. I'm circling with you, Coach.
Right.
Now shoot.
All right.
Circle with me. Circle with me. That ball can
we are
circle with me.
Teed up by travelingcountryclub.com. The Plunder on Polly's plays this weekend. If you learned about that from our show and you win $12,000, we get 20%, and we can't wait to recover those funds. So best of luck to you. If you just want to play golf, I'm a member of this club. It's an honor to be a member of this club. We're honored to be partners with Michael Manis and his team and what they do here in the Carolinas. TravelingCountryClub.com. If you're a golfer and you're not involved in this, I would venture a guess that you're doing golf the wrong way. Get off your home course and go play. 45 courses to play between North and South Carolina. TravelingCountryClub.com. It is so worth it, man. And we really appreciate all of you who have joined over the last few months. Which quarterback will be talked about the most next week? Where will the Gamecocks be picked? And more, including 2 bonus questions these 2 gurus don't know about. Hang tight. Inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barndo Co. We'll be right back.
Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half-hour, hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter @MareTaylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
You know what, Phil? Let's ask Stone Blanton.
Hey, JC and Phil, if you want a solution to your IT problems, give Heritage Digital a call. Our boy Matt Odom has a low-cost, one-price solution that will get you running right. Call 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com and ask for Matt. He will hook you up today and tell them Stone sent you.
Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on 2 wheels. Magnum, Velotric, Aventon bikes, and more. And they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle help you handle the southern heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available all ages and sizes. ElectricBikesCharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston! Electric Bikes in Charleston!
That's who should be talked about the most next week at SEC.
All right,
Media
let's see.
Days
We get to see him next week.
Yeah, as Phil and JC, as much as I would like to say that Spencer Rattler will be the most highly sought after quarterback, I don't think that he will be. And let me tell you why. Number one, I do think that there are some people who just it's South Carolina. If he was playing at Alabama or Georgia, oh good God. Okay. Here's the most important reason. They go on Thursday. That's why. They go on Thursday. So I think that the quarterback, the quarterback that will be the most highly sought after next week will be Jaden Daniels at LSU. Because they go on Monday.
I'm going with Rattler still, because I think it works in reverse with, and I'm talking national guys. I mean, are we talking about volume of exposure? Or are we talking about number of reporters gathered claustrophobically around the table?
Yeah,
our boy, still our boy David Connors will get the first question.
Oh yeah, come on, DC.
Oh, he should.
Spencer,
yeah,
Spence, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for doing this.
I love that guy.
I haven't seen you since last week. Yeah, DC is the best, man.
Long time no see, man.
You think it's Rattler, JC, and Phil?
I think it's Rattler because I think the story of Rattler. If you're putting my, especially about ranting about journalism, putting my former journalist hat on today, but most of these guys are. How many transfers, quarterbacks are there coming to media days? Milton's a transfer, Daniels a transfer. None are as intriguing as the Spencer Rattler story. So Will Rogers, KJ Jefferson are not transfers, but the other three are.
There's only 5 going
now,
to media days.
Do I think Rattler? I mean, I think Jefferson and some of these other guys will be voted first, second team all SEC preseason, but the Rattler story is so intriguing because, look, struggled, got benched at OU, came to Carolina. First 10 games, great moments of flashes of brilliance, but overall, if you think about South Carolina through those first 8 or 10, that was kind of, I hate to say on offense, Marshawn Lloyd's team. I mean, Lynn Lloyd got hurt, and then Rattler goes completely off. And we all know why. I mean, or a big reason why. And so you look at it and you're like, well, here's a guy that probably after that Florida game, people had left for dead. And what a resurrection. And he played really well in the bowl game too and made some plays. And here's a guy who people were talking about just a few years ago being the number 1 pick of the draft 2 years ago. So to me, that's a hell of a story of a guy who's had a roller coaster ride, but who, charted his path to redemption at the end of last year. Now, I agree with JB. If he were at the University of Florida, there'd probably be more attention, but I think Rattler, as far as he is a story. I mean, obviously Joe Milton finally being an entrenched starter with high expectations is a story in and of itself, but and Rodgers, and they all have stories, but I think Rattler is the most intriguing one just because of the roller coaster that he's been on.
Yeah, I agree with JC here. I think even though it is later in the week, and I did consider that, but I think you kind of have that working in your favor too, because now you put together, you get to ask him a few questions that you can conform. You can write this narrative that will get you a nice long article for Friday.
Yeah, about that time you're out of things to write about.
Yeah,
you
only got what are you going to say?
Know?
Yeah, and then the other side of it is you got the addition of Oklahoma and Texas coming into the league, so now you get to talk about Oklahoma with him in a legitimate fashion on 2 fronts, where you also were denied the ability to do so last year to talk to him at all. In this kind of setting. So I just think that kind of plays up to where he's going to be an extremely highly sought after player. And I mean, besides that, he's probably the top player to talk to on that day as well.
Oh yeah. And you know what? He's a hell of an interview. He's a smooth operator. He knows how to do it. He's had everything in the book thrown at him. And so, all right. Well, I hope you're right. I really do. I hope y'all are right. Here, by the way, we'll have a cheers and a shot to maybe somehow at the end of the year, it'll be Oklahoma and Brent Venables versus South Carolina and Spencer Rattler in a bowl game somewhere before he heads off to the NFL draft.
Oh,
all right,
that'd be fun.
Who will be picked to finish dead last in the league? I think we've hit on a lot of this already, in the fact that more than likely Florida, Vanderbilt, probably Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Auburn. I would say those are the 5 teams that are going to receive the least amount of votes overall by media members. Remember, the most votes is where you kind of fall in line for the voting next week. Who will receive the least amount of votes, which would mean finish basically dead last had they not had divisions this year? My money is on Vanderbilt.
Agreed.
I just think it's a media tradition. I don't think that I don't think anybody's going to think twice about it. I just don't think anybody's going to pick them to do anything.
It's like picking Georgia first because
I think it's a foregone conclusion for them.
It is what it is until it isn't. I'm going to go with Vandy as well, but I mean Missouri, even though they could see there's that program again. They could be the most overhyped team, or they could also be picked dead last.
No, I don't see that.
I think they're going to send a message and pick Florida down toward the bottom. But another one is Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I like Zach Arnett. I think that, when you look at the Leach era there, they did win a lot of games because of the defense, not so much the Pirate. But Will Rogers is the perfect fit for the air raid. And you're putting him in the App State offense. A lot of play action, a lot of wide zone. It's still a great offense, but it's fundamentally different. And my question would be, are you kneecapping yourself by doing that? And I think Mississippi State actually go the other direction and have a lot of close, low-scoring games this next year. So we'll see. But that would be Missouri, Mississippi State. If they do pick somebody dead last, would be probably my dark horses there.
All right, final one in this segment here, and then we'll move on. And again, I still have these 2 bonus ones for you, so that we'll finish with some. It'll be pretty funny. It'll be more funny than anything in our final segment of the week. Where will the Gamecocks be picked next week? By the way, I'll just answer this one first. I actually think South Carolina will be picked 4th in the East. I think the trend is people think they'll end up being 3rd. I don't think that they'll receive enough credit by the media. I think that they'll be 4th in the East.
Behind what? Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky?
Yeah, I don't know. Either Kentucky or Missouri, one or the other. Yep.
You're bullish on Missouri. I think
I'm not. This is
I know you're not.
Yeah, we agreed with their overhype.
No. I'm sorry. The media, or what the media's opinion of Mizzou is. I could see it going that way, but I'm going to go on a limb and say I'm going to say South Carolina, just because that Tennessee and Clemson games are still in people's minds. Kentucky did not have a great finish. I think in people's minds, they're thinking of the Music City Bowl, which was, man, they played Iowa. Good Lord. And Levis had opted out.
You're picking them where though? South Carolina,
Kentucky, or South? I'm gonna say I'm gonna say that they pick South Carolina 3rd. If I were personally voting, I would pick South Carolina 3rd. But I think the media, because everything's fresh in their mind from the end of last year, I think they'll pick the Gamecocks over the Wildcats. Could be wrong.
Yeah, this is the one where I had to read the question. It was take out where would I pick South Carolina to be? Because I agree with JC. I would pick South Carolina to be 3rd.
I would too.
I think the media down there will pick 4th. So I agree with both in principle. But I think the media are going to show love to Kentucky. I think you got the Leary factor. They're gonna pound the fact that it appears as if South Carolina has 0 run game, and use that to bump them down a peg behind Kentucky.
No, they're going to focus on the transfers too, Phil.
Yeah, that's true.
I've already seen this. It's from another website. It's something that competes with 24/7, and that's all the guy talked about. No mention of the ones that came in.
Yeah.
Just the fact that Jaheim Bell and Marshawn Lloyd and Jordan Birch were gone and they're depleted because those three guys are out the door.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the roster narrative that was heading into this offseason with South Carolina. And let's face it, I mean, with some of the quality of work that we see come out of some of these air quote credentialed sites is nothing more than, headlines and clickbait. So that's why I think they're going to fall into putting Kentucky ahead of South Carolina.
Yeah, and I think too, JC, and we'll give you got a couple of minutes, and then we got to get to break again, and we'll get to the rest of this when we get back. But I think too, the national narrative still on Spencer Rattler is unbelievably talented. Just still don't ever know what you're going to get. I don't think anybody, based on their pick next week, is going to be picking that as a representative of the job that Shane Beamer has done at Carolina or the job that he will do this year. I think that they're going to be picking that based on what they think the roster is. And then also the Dow. See, nobody else has spent more time than we have. Not just us three collectively. I mean, even like Gamecock Central, the guys who've been focused on this, the Dow login situation for the last, nobody else is focused on that. Nobody has spent any time on it. He is a quote-unquote failed NFL offensive coordinator in the minds of the national media. And when those guys arrive next week, they have not done the research or been involved in it as we have, outside of a couple guys like Josh Pate and Brad Crawford and others. And so I think because of that, and because of so many uncertainties, they're going to look at this and say, you know what, Carolina might have a fine year at 7-5, but that's still going to put them fourth. So there you go.
Fair.
Pretty much. Oh, wow. I wasn't planning on that, Phil.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
It is.
Fair enough.
Well, wait a second.
I can see your point.
Yeah.
But that was one where I really had to
double
struggle.
for me.
It was like, where would I put them? Where would they put them? Where, it's like you got to try to gauge the room there. But yeah.
Quantrell mentions our favorite podcast, the Cover 3 podcast. Probably not my favorite, by the way.
No.
They talk like Jordan Birch and Gilbert Edmond were all conference players. Well, there's the Florida State factor with one of those guys.
Yeah.
Is Danny Cannell still on that podcast? They're probably a Florida State factor with two. So obviously they think Gilbert Edmonds really, really good. And I think he will be. He'll be just fine. And then Birch was the 5-star. But if you look at production, I'm going to go out on a limb and say as long as Strawn is healthy, Strawn and Jasis Jeer or whoever else, ... South Carolina's going to be better at edge this year than they were last year. More productive, better.
More productive, yeah. No.
I mean, and I would have said, I think Birch and Edmond would have taken a step had they stayed. It's unfortunate they left. But if right now you ask me I would take the kid from Syracuse and Strawn over Birch and Edmond. Call me crazy.
Let's I'll throw it right back at you.
Fair.
There you go. Fair. All right, final break of the week. We are built by the Barndo Co. When we return, will any major news break next week? What's the topic of the week? And 2 bonus questions for these boneheads here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show live from the Sinorama Studios.
Hey Gamecock fans, it's Evan Stone from Gamecock Baseball. A couple of painters paint the show garnet and black every day and get the job done right at a fair cost. Go to letmepaintsomething.com for information and an estimate. Go Cox.
You heard Evan Stone, Gamecock fans. 10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. LetMePaintSomething.com.
If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the village at Creekside, all of her listings. In my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
Building your dream home is often just that, a dream, and sometimes a nightmare. But at the Barndo Company, they commit to quality and build without sacrifice. Customization, open floor plans, limitless flooring options, maintenance-free and easy installation perks, and affordability are just a few reasons why they've been named one of the best builders in the U.S. Believe in your dreams. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barndo Company. Gamecock owned, Gamecock operated. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many, all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks!
Done this week.
Yeah, almost done. This, that, and the other. Well, any major news break next week, guys? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no.
Same. I'm going to go with no. I don't think you're going to be able to stop what they released last year.
yeah. Just because I've been to this event so much in the past, and last year was kind of an anomaly. I think this year will be just a lot of blah 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 blah.
I think there will be something. I don't know what it is. It's just we've turned the corner, and you just never. Somebody out there is going to be looking to make a splash for themselves during media days, and I think something will happen. What will the topic of the week end up being? The topic, coaches, players, everybody's going to be asked about
it. This one was tough.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I was like, I don't know if there's going to be like an overarching kind of theme there, which I don't think your answer was. Now that I was looking at it, I was like, I don't think that's necessarily going to be something that comes up every single day. I think NIL will. I think it'll be talked about a lot.
You know, I think it's gambling. I really do. I think with what's the Alabama baseball stuff, and there's a couple of other sneaky stories out there that are probably going to get more traction as the season gets closer. I think that a lot of these coaches will be asked about, and state laws, of course, have opened up gambling. I think a lot of these coaches will be asked about this, and I'm sure they're going to be preparing with their SIDs going into it.
I think that's a great pick, JB. It's a sneaky good pick, really, because but I still think NIL is going to dominate the conversation just because it's such a fractured deal, even within the SEC, with Texas and Oklahoma and Missouri having one law along with Arkansas, and then everybody else has another. I think you're going to hear a lot of questions about, is that fair, leveling the playing field? And then this may be another one Jimbo gets a little antsy about, because A&M is Texas kind of took a measured approach, and so did Texas Tech about that law. They were like, well, we're still going to follow NCAA guidelines, whatever. Texas A&M was like, yeehaw, no, we're not. This is Aggie land, baby. And they actually released a video with Ross Bjork, who I like, their AD, just saying, no, we're following our state law from right here in Texas. They had a picture of the damn governor and everything. Yeehaw! I was like, wow. So I think NIL, for that reason, will still dominate, but it could end up being gambling because, like you said, that's one of those brewing storms that's coming. People don't understand it. A lot of states where it's legal now, it's on an app. It's like Snapchat or something, right. And then you have things like FanDuel and all that are technically gambling. I mean, that's going to kind of get interesting, and it could blow up this next week, JB. But I'm going to stick with NIL.
Don't worry, Quantrell. We're going to give JC we're going to give JC the podium before we get out of here on that. He was rolling me and Phil this morning on it. All right, final 2 quick bonus questions for 2023 SEC Media Days. Phil, I'll start with you on this one. Who will have the longest opening speech?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. Longest opening speech.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Odom.
I'm going to say, who likes to hear themselves talk the most? So I don't know. I'm going to go with Jimbo. I think he's going to try to get ahead of the questions that are going to get asked of him. He's going to ramble, and it's not going to go well.
I'm going.
Go ahead. No.
I want to. You first.
I think it's Napier. I think Napier's going to take forever.
Oh,
it could be.
He did last year. Literally, I was asleep 10 minutes into it. Beamer took a long time too, but I think it's going to be Napier.
I think strategically, and this is the difference. People, you want to know the difference between Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp, besides height and hair, which Muschamp has a beautiful mane as well. Don't get me wrong. I think Bobo probably is the only hair guy there losing this. But anyway, I'm going to go with Kirby Smart because
good pick.
Unlike Muschamp, who would probably give a 5-minute opening speech and then just look at you like they dare you to ask, Kirby. And all these Saban guys, they know how to run out the clock. So Kirby may get up there, in my opinion, to avoid a lot of these all these uncomfortable questions that are come his way, and spend 26 minutes breaking down his depth chart.
It's called
which is genius.
That's called filibustering.
I think that's Georgia's got a really good media relations department and stuff, and I'm sure. I don't know. I guess Claude Felton may have retired from over there, but if Claude's still there, he's like, Kirby, we need to sit down and have a little talk. And here's what you do: you filibuster. You go. And I have a stack of bio.
Here's the roster.
Stuff to read.
Yeah,
here's the roster.
Read everybody's height and weight. Talk about their weight change from the spring.
So I think Kirby's gonna run it out. Now, I've seen him do stuff like that before. He's not a bad press conference. He doesn't say much, but I tend to appreciate his strategy.
All right, here's the final one. As opposed to the longest, who will have the shortest opening speech at SEC Media Days? You can start, JC. Go ahead.
I want to go with Brian Kelly.
I agree.
Yeah, same.
All right, we all agree on that. Brian
all right,
Kelly,
let's go. Yep.
Okay.
Let's
I think
Brian Kelly's all business, man. I got it. A lot of people are like Brian Kelly haters, especially up here. They hate him, but I love him because he's a guy that paid his dues, man. He coached D2 ball for 10 years, won championships.
Sure.
I mentioned it before: Central Michigan, Cincinnati, Notre Dame. He deserves to win a national championship, and people disagree because of his personality, but I think that's just a guy that works his damn butt off and is a dang good ball coach. So he ain't got time to give a big flowery opening speech. He's got to go coach ball.
Yeah. And in the absence of Mike Leach, I think he will be. Who would have been the easiest answer.
Well, Mike Leach just rolls up there. Like,
yep. Well, all right, what you got?
What did he say last year?
Any questions?
I don't have anything to say. I have no opening statement. So who has a question? Okay. All right.
That's good.
All right. With all of that said, the breaking news that came out yesterday, it is huge news for the ACC. We'll let JC entertain you as we head off into the sunset. But no, they won't be on Jefferson Pilot Sports. The ACC has elected to go with the CW. So hats off to them.
All right. So there's going to be a welcome home banner at Clemson.
Oh, God.
Late in November. Y'all just get ready for it. Except it's going to have Lorelei and Rory Gilmore on it. It's going to say Gilmore Girls Christmas Reunion. I said this. The ACC's on Twitter is the ACC. Hashtag the ACC. Hashtag the CW. Hashtag it's supernatural.
Careful, Shadow of Mom's Basement is going to come after us now.
Well, I tell you what, my fiance, my ex-wife, and a lot of other women too, because they love those shows. Yeah. I've been subjected to those shows for 23 years. And I actually was disappointed. I would call me crazy. I was actually disappointed when Gilmore Girls went off the air. I just started getting into it after a year.
So are they going to be showing like Jerry Springer reruns at halftime, or what are they doing here?
Yeah,
and how they going to handle
this? Like,
I still have some interesting weather delay games. Shows.
Oh my god! Yeah. What if Pat Summerall had not died and just retired, and he was all of a sudden the ACC broadcaster for the CW? Is like tonight on Jerry Springer Live, coming up right after. Like he used to be like tonight on 60 Minutes.
Classic episode you might remember from
Gilmore
1998.
I mean, so,
they sold this to Dabo by telling him every time Clemson would play, they would follow it with an episode of Andy Griffith Show.
Come on.
Nah, but look, I can just hear the conversation now, like the Jim Phillips, the ACC AD, and he's like, the assistant comes in there, he's like, sir, the Big Ten and SEC are lapping us in TV revenue. Should we call up Jeff Bezos and take his $1 trillion offer to buy every member institution outright? No, I've got a better plan.
No.
We're going back to the future, baby. And it's like we're going to get on old school UHF TV. I said, that network with the frog? No, that's the WB. It no longer exists. We're going with the CW. And then so we're talking about this all day. Phil sends a picture of the dancing frog from the WB, and it's moving in such a way where you could like put on a GIF CLEM.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't even think about that.
Did you see that at Death Valley or Memorial Stadium when they scored? The WB frog comes up there with the little cane and top hat. It's like CLEM. So anyway, look, that has to be bringing in at least hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Dude, I just want to know. I just want to know, like, when the guy who had to issue the press release for the league had this forwarded to his email, hey, go ahead and put this out. The deal is done. If he was like, oh, crap, we're going to get hammered for this. Like, I really have to send this to every major news outlet in America? You got to be kidding me.
He's probably like, where's the dancing frog?
Dude,
that's the WB.
I can't even have that.
Can't even have that, but
he's going to think we're being spammed by the ACC.
What is it?
Yeah, that's we'll talk about this. He's like having to check. He's like, he sent 4 emails to double check the veracity of that one.
Yeah. Can I speak to your boss, please? How about his boss? Where's he?
This can't be.
So somebody wake him up.
It's
gonna get me someone while I'm waiting.
Next thing you're that's awesome.
And we're going to be competing in the same space with, the 1,000-pound sisters or whatever, who are going to start a football podcast after this.
Hey, man, we're stuck in this TV deal till 2036. What do you think can get us through till then? Oh, I've got an idea. For the next 13 years, we should throw some games between Andy Griffith and Jerry Springer on the freaking CW.
That's a brilliant idea, Chief.
Brilliant
idea, Smythe. That's great, Smythe. Good thinking. The SEC won't know what hit them.
Right. Welcome to the Sports Halftime Show.
What does it say about ESPN, though? Because this tells me the ACC was like, hey, we need some more money. And ESPN was like, we're all out of money. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because ESPN's allowing this to happen, too. I mean.
Yeah, I don't think they care about this.
They're like, the CW?
Yeah. Wait, you're going what? Oh, that's fine.
Next, we're going to have games on Discovery.
Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network.
HBO.
Pat Summerall tonight on the Flintstones.
Coming up tonight on the Cartoon Network around 9:00 after Ren and Stimpy. It's Boston College.
That's right.
Hosting
It'll be Boston College Pitt after Ren and Stimpy.
Boston College Pitt, followed by a rousing episode of Bob's Burgers.
Good night, everyone from Blacksburg, Virginia. Bob's Burgers is next.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, God. I'm glad we didn't do this at the beginning of the show. We would have.
No, it would have derailed the whole thing.
We would have really
questions we would have never gotten to. Would have never let this go. But no, it was really fun today, guys. Really fun.
Yeah,
great stuff as always. Looking forward to next week. Inside the Gamecocks, the show will have plenty of coverage from Nashville for SEC Media Days. And we absolutely can't wait for that. Thanks to all of our guests this week. And most importantly, always thanks to all of you. A major announcement is coming soon from us. Soon. Hoping as soon as possible. We'll let you know when it gets here, but stay on your toes and tell your friends. For JC and Phil, we're built by the Barn Doco and live as always from the Signorama Studios. We'll see you on Monday at 11 for SEC Media Days right here on Inside the Game.